Okay, now we're going to look at the Wasp and the Unicorn, or the Unicorn and the Wasp. And we're going to look at Agatha Christie, because that's the intertext here, is Agatha Christie's life, things that she did, and what she wrote. So what do we know about Agatha Christie? One, we do know that she did have a real-life disappearance. And it was well publicized. Sherlock Holmes's writer, um, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, tried to help. Some other famous novelists of the time tried to help. It made the news in New York City. Everyone knew she was missing. So this was a major, major story in 1926. Not sure why. Oh, who's into play? So we had Donna, and we have Donna meeting Agatha Christie. So that's the link there. We have the Doctor, and we have the Doctor meeting Agatha Christie. And then we also have the Doctor and Donna. So we have kind of a couple of different groups here, groupings of people, three different groupings as far as community. So there's three different viewpoints between what the Doctor and Donna do together, what Donna and Agatha do together, and what Agatha and the Doctor do. Here's just some information we know about her. Born in Torquay, England, her father was American, and he was a stockbroker and had his own money. Her mother was English. Her mother didn't want her to learn how to read. I don't remember the story of why, but she basically taught herself to read. And she was a nurse during the war. She had traveled frequently throughout her life. Her father died when she was fairly young, and her mother, in her grief, just kind of started traveling and would often take Agatha with her. She had a daughter with her first husband. Her husband did leave her for a younger woman, which is portrayed in the episode. She ended up remarrying, staying with him through the rest of her life, and she died in 1976. Some things about her. 91 books written over her lifetime. That's a lot. She sold over 4 billion copies, and Guinness Book of World Records has declared her the best-selling author in the world. Even among other languages, other countries, she has sold more copies of her books than anyone else. She's created several iconic characters. The Belgian detective Hercule Poirot, or we say Poirot in English, who investigates and is always talking about the little gray cells in his head that he uses. Then we have Miss Jane Marple, an older spinster in a small village who starts noticing things go wrong, and she just uses her common sense to figure things out. And then there's a married couple, Tuppence and Tommy, who solve some crimes. The vast majority of what she writes were whodunits. She did write a couple of romance novels, but the vast majority were crime novels of some one kind or another. What we know about her disappearance from the facts are, on December 3rd, 1926, she left her home. She had gone upstairs, kissed her daughter, and left at 9:45 without telling anyone. Her car was discovered abandoned about 15 miles south of her home. And again, it's servants, or I'm not sure how they pinned down the 9:45 time, but they were able to. And once news of her disappearance broke, again, lots of different people tried in a search for helping her. And then she was discovered 11 days later, although in the episode it does say 10 days later, but it was 11 days later in a spa/hotel 250 miles north. So she had driven south from the house, car's abandoned, goes 250 miles somehow, train with someone else, who knows, but she goes 250 miles to the north of England, registers there under an assumed name, and stays there for 11 days before she is found. Two theories were put forth for this disappearance. That possibly she hit her head in the car if there was an accident, and suffered some kind of amnesia or fugue state and managed to go somewhere else. Or what everyone pretty much thought at this time was because her husband just a couple months previously had left her for a younger woman, that she pretty much had a nervous breakdown, decided to try and either frame him. Well, either within this category, one, just a complete nervous breakdown and just needed to get away. But why would you leave your young daughter? That's odd. Two, she was trying to frame her husband for her either murder or disappearance. And that's really what everyone was really saying. If you Google the history of her disappearance, everyone talks about that it was some way trying to get back at the husband. But of course, we now know the real story. It was the giant wasp. So when we look at this episode, I am going to take us into some things that come out of it. One, we have the real facts that are surrounding this. We have her disappearance. We see actively the social class distinctions. We see a reverence for the elderly and military, also a reverence for the clergy. So we have her at the end being dropped off at the Harrogate Hotel. This is where she was found. We see them having a butler at Lady Edison's house, also a maid, and the maid is Indian. So again, the social class distinctions. We see the husband who is ex-military, supposedly wounded, so we see the reverence the family pays him. And then the clergy is portrayed in a certain light. He bicycles around because still at this point the idea of the clergy is to take care of the spiritual life of the parish, and so he's supposed to go out and pay calls on the poor members, etc. And most of them didn't own cars. That was for the wealthy, not for a clergyman. And so we see him being portrayed actually as a clergyman would have been at this time, bicycling around from place to place. But we also see some other things coming into play here. We see Doctor Who pushing a movement of advancing social norms, also using the idea of discretion versus either our current day view of putting everything out in the open or seeing certain things as weaknesses. Advancing social norms, we definitely saw in the Son, who is gay. Not only do we get that image really early on from a couple of things, but when he calls out in the hallway, we see one of the staff with him in his bedroom. And so again, this is pretty forward-thinking, progressive thinking, even today, in the sense of this still is a children's program at heart, and kids would watch this, and they're seeing that no one's batting an eye that he's popping out of the room with another guy. They are just all more upset about what's going on, etc. So then later in the episode, we actually see the Doctor and Donna catching them together and not really caring about it, not making a big deal. So again, moving the cause of gay rights forward. And also throughout the episode, we rarely see Lady Edison without a drink in her hand. So it's obvious she's an alcoholic. But in that day and age, you hid it or you just didn't speak about it. Whereas today, people are all the time saying, I'm an alcoholic, I can't drink, or whatever. Or if they do, they kind of, it's not as a taboo as it was in the past. And it's also not things that are hidden in the same way as they were in the past.